Sports Fest weekend here in Charleston, West Virginia. Everybody dancing and having a good time. I wish I could dance like that kid could. 5K glow run going on over the weekend, but this is the culmination of Sports Fest. This is the 2016 Pro Watercross National Championships happening right on the Kanawha River in the capital city. As we head into this national championship race, we want to take a closer look at the standings as we sit right now, so let's head it on upstairs to Don and Bill.
Here are your standings for Pro-Am Runabout Box Stock. In first place coming into this round, it's Dustin Farthing with 343 points. In second place, Tim Ducat with 303, and Troy Snyder coming into this round with 277. Here's your lineup. 116, Dustin Farthing. 404, Brent Venderly. Number 8, Jeff Dykowski. 247, Dylan Osborne. 149, Tim Ducat.
Let's take a closer look at one of the racers in this event. That would be Tim Ducat. He's known as Mr. Consistent. 20 years of racing experience dating back to 1996, but this is his first year on Team Sea-Doo. So the racers are on the line. Let's go down to the action and up to the booth with Don and Bill.
All right, and here we go with the start on Pro-Am Runabout Box Stock. It's all on the line right now, and look at Dustin Farthing. He blows out of that. It's a great hole shot, but it's Jeff Dykowski that is also rocking this one, and it looks like he is going to do what he's been doing all year long. The hole shot's going to be going to Jeff Dykowski, and that is the JetLift hole shot for the 8-ball gentleman that has had some great runs this year. He's out of Rydell, Georgia, and he's going to push that outside split, but here right behind him, it's going to be Dustin Farthing, and Dustin also choosing to go to the outside. Ducat, the gentleman that we had been talking about, looking for him on this lineup. Meanwhile, Venderly popping in as well, and he's coming from the inside split, and that is going to give Dustin Farthing even more to work with.
And coming down the front straightaway, it looks like a pretty good spread from first to second. Not that that's going to stay for long. These guys are definitely going to push it.
Now, again, we're watching the box stock class, Bill. Big difference for these guys. They have to rail it in, and this is going to be all about finesse versus I'm not going to be able to save myself when I'm running with a GP boat.
And as you're watching them, you can see that these skis are pretty well handled in terms of the first to last. They've got the same performance, so they have to deal with the handling, and they have to deal with the way that they're riding. So as we watch them go through the splits, that's going to be a big decision for them as they come through.
Yeah, you know what's fun about this is Jeff Dykowski's 58 years old, and you would never be able to guess that watching him out in the water. That's the gentleman that's currently in the lead. We're going to take a quick recap and take one more look at this whole shot, brought to you by JetLift. Beautiful job with Jeff Dykowski. He timed that rubber band perfectly. Then he sets himself up, closes the gate when he comes to that first buoy, and that's going to be a great start for the gentleman that comes to us out of Georgia.
And as we come back live, we're looking out, and it looks like the gap is closed a lot. We're coming down the back straightaway. There's not much lift there between the two.
Yeah, to include the person that was in second place, Dustin Farthing moving up in second, making that pass on Brent Venderly. And man, I tell you, he's riding it like it's a GP. So you've got Jeff Dykowski taking the outside split, and Dustin Farthing's going to choose to go to the inside split, and that's been working really well for him this year.
And this is going to give us a good look at the balance of the two. And it looks like Dustin got a good drive on the inside, proved out to be a very good choice, and he comes out ahead.
It's a perfect opportunity for us to take a look at this. So the reason that they have the opportunity to go to those split sections after the first lap, they can pick whichever side they want to go to. So what happened on that is Dykowski thought, well, maybe I can get some clean water, but instead what it did is it cost him the lead. So Dustin Farthing has moved into the lead, Jeff Dykowski down in second, and Dustin is going to do his best to check out pretty much like he's done all year. Yeah, and I just got to really throw it out to Sea-Doo. You know, it's interesting, we got Dustin Farthing this year, Team Sea-Doo, and these boats have been flawless on the water, and I love to watch the handling and how they stick to the water. We've been talking about that a little bit. You've got the intake grate. That intake grate has got to stay hooked up and actually really helps these guys in the turns as well and just makes it look easy. Look at Dykowski in here. He's trying to get a hold of some more real estate, see if he can reel in Dustin Farthing.
Definitely, and you know, you talked about the intake grate. You know, that water, the way it gets set as it goes into the pump really makes a difference. You know, it sets the nose, the balance of the boat, and it allows them to do a lot more. Some of these guys like to do the high speed. Some of them are setting it up more for the technical. So here, where we do have a combination of the two, it really is a big thing for how these teams work together and putting the setups.
So again, Dustin Farthing working that outside as we had talked about, that great Sea-Doo boat, that Team Factory boat, and again, the results really speaking for themselves here, and I love watching this guy. 17-time national and world champion. And Bill, that is just in the pro division. But this is a guy that's been racing since 1992. He raced a lot in the amateurs and the juniors. He has over probably 30 national world titles. Hey, let's go down to the water's edge by the line and catch up with Drew.
Thank you very much. And just a little bit ago, it was pouring rain. Thankfully, it's cleared up a bit because the rain can change a lot of things. You can see some of the riders have opted to go with the full wetsuit. And that's a bit for their protection, maybe a personal preference as well for some of them. But some riders like to change that when the rain becomes a factor, because a little drizzle when you're just standing on the banks, not really a big deal. But anyone who's ever ridden a motorcycle or on a roller coaster can attest to it. When you're going 50, 60 miles an hour or more, and even the slightest little drizzle can feel like pins and needles on your skin, it hurts. So it does change the way the approach would go.
Again, as we take a look back out on the track, Dustin Farthing in a full wetsuit. And also in a full gear. And thanks a lot, Drew. Wow, I love watching these guys out here on the track. Again, the box stock class is what we've got on the line, and these guys have been flying. It has been Jeff Dykowski all year with the whole shot, but he has moved back into third place. Right now, looks like Ducat. Again, looking back, you've got Ducat on borrowed property, followed by Dykowski and Brent Venderly, who had a great start and a great run yesterday. Boat's going about 76 miles per hour, and that is right out of the box, this box stock boat. So it's a lot of fun to take these out and just play. But no playing happening as we hit that front stretch. And just taking a quick look, we still got the green flag rolling. And as they come through that horseshoe section, that's a very technical section of the track.
Yeah, and as you saw, those waves are building up right there. When he's coming through, you can see how it's launching him a little bit, and it takes a lot to stay on these things. I mean, that's 2 or 3 G's that you're pulling sideways. Squeeze with your legs, hold with your arms, but it's a hard ride.
And as you're sitting there taking a look at Dustin Farthing, as he comes through on that double yellow, that chicane turn, just to give you an example of that, the boat he's on right now, about 76 miles per hour, 88 miles to 90 miles per hour. Right behind him, Tim Ducat working that horseshoe. I really like watching Tim ride again. Mr. Consistent on and off the water. He's been Mr. Consistent in the points as well. When I take a look at that points, you can see that he's had 18 races. Now, Bill, he hasn't had any wins this year, but he's been on the podium 14 times.
And that makes all the difference when it comes to the overall point standings. And then coming into this event where it's a double points, it's a single race, single moto, so there's a lot that you can change within that. So being consistent is definitely going to be paying off.
Yeah, and these guys have got to play that game smart. The big story, you cannot break, because that will really cost these guys a tons of points, and it can knock you right off the podium. Again, coming through the horseshoe section, Dustin Farthing, you can see that he's very clean, very quiet. He's going to play a smart call here, be a very quiet, smart race. Coming back through that horseshoe as well as Ducat. Now again, Ducat had to borrow a boat yesterday, had an exhaust brake on him on his boat. So he is aboard Jason Lester's boat right now. And how much does that make a factor when you have to borrow?
Oh, a lot. So when you look at what the handling setup is on any one of these and the amount that changes in terms of how you ride, it's night and day. But you know, one of the things with all these guys, they've ridden a lot of different skis and they've done this a long time, so they do adjust much quicker, I think, than most of us would.
Yeah, and you know, just one example of that, they got a white flag out. That's going to be the final lap for Dustin Farthing.
It's coming through the horseshoe for one last time, down the little short chute on the end of the front straightaway. You can see the water still pretty chopped up, but not much for Dustin. He's handling it really well. Very consistent, very smooth through the whole left-hand side of the track.
Again, when you watch these guys coming in and taking the turns, one of the things that you had pointed out is they customize these boats a little bit for them. So they're going to set up the handling. If he likes to come into a turn and really stick the front nose of that turn in, Dustin can actually set up this boat like that.
Yeah, and it's kind of to a minimal side because they don't allow a lot of changes within these watercraft to stay in that box stock.
All right, so we are going to this final couple of laps for Dustin Farthing. He chose that outside split and does the big final sweeper turn to come onto the front stretch. Checkered flag is going to be out, and that is going to be it for Dustin Farthing. He is your new national champion. We're going to go down to him on the line with Drew for the interview coming up next.